Welcome back for another preview for game-seeking crowdfunding, and this time I'm very happy to present to you how Scarab Sands work. Scarab Sands comes from Stranger Game Studio, which is a game that brought Kabula. I had the pleasure playing the game, I really enjoyed it, very unique. And this is a very different game from the previous one. This is actually a real-time, simultaneous programming and area majority game where players are competing in a pyramid. They're dead souls, so they're trying to get their their pass in the afterlife and weighted against the feather so that they are redeemed in a way, according to mythology. And they want to do that by controlling different rooms in the Great Pyramid. To do so, players are going to go through the 3 phases each round. First phase is the refresh phase. Second phase is the movement phase, where players are going to be moving their 3 different types of units in 3 different steps, one after the other. First they have the basic Scarab units, then they have the flying Scarab units, and then they have the armored Scarab units, all with the different dice contributing to the battle. This is done simultaneously behind screens, and players plan their movements, then reveal, and then they execute the basic Scarabs. Then they do the same for the flying Scarabs, and then they do the same for the armored Scarabs. After that is done, players are going to go through the resolution phase of resolving the rooms for majority by doing combat if more than one player participates in presence over there in order to gain the rewards. And armor units, flying units and basic units contribute different types of dice, so the players are going to accumulate their dice, make their dice pool, roll it, have the chance to spend favor of math in order to convert minor hits to major hits, and then trying to win their opponent or opponents in the course of one or more than one combat rounds. This is done progressively from room number 1 all the way to room number 13, and players are getting the respective rewards along the way after each room is resolved. Keep in mind that if a player is a single occupant of a room, they automatically control the room and get reward. Very simple in terms of execution, planning, but really deep in terms of strategy, fun, and gameplay experience. I have to admit I'm really pleasantly surprised by how much I love this game, and I'm going to say more about my personal opinion at the end of this video after I explain to you how the game plays and give you all the insights on how to play in practice. Just some spoilers, some heads up. I really enjoyed this game. This is really fun, simple war game with simultaneous selection of movement, reveal, execution in 3 different steps. Has fantastic combat system, fast and robust, with very interesting perks in terms of different dice contributing to the combat, but also in ways of converting the results. You have minor hits, major hits, you have shields to nullify the hits, and so on. And different types of rewards, of course, each time, which they constantly change hands. So I'm going to add the link in the description of the video, so where you can find more about the campaign. I really can't emphasize it. Don't miss out. This is a fantastic game. I had an amazing time playing the game. So let's see how the game plays in practice. I'm going to also add timestamps in the description of the video where you can jump directly, for example, in the combat section if you're interested only for combat. And then join me at the end of this video for some final wrap-up and first impressions from my first sessions from the game, which I already told you, I loved it. So let's see first of all how it plays. Scarab Sands is a competitive area control game for 2 to 4 players set in ancient Egypt. In this game, you compete as dead souls inside the pyramid, preparing for final judgment in order to reach the afterlife. Your heart, like of every other dead soul, will be weighted against the white feather of truth from the goddess of Maat. The sacred rooms inside the pyramid can aid in your reducing the weight of your heart. Scarab troops are at your command and will fight for control of these rooms. Only the soul with the lightest heart is deemed in harmony and will make it to the afterlife. So here's what we have in front of us are the components of the advanced prototype of Scarab Sands, which I have already unboxed on another separate prototype unboxing video. I have to admit this looks really nice. It's almost as a final production game in my eyes. Everything looks great, from miniatures to dice to art and screens, etc. So without further ado, let's familiarize ourselves with the components of the game with a quick in a quick nutshell. So what each player has in front of them is a screen which shows a reminder of how the game plays. Okay, and it is intended to cover your planning area, your personal planning mat, which is, as you see in this pyramid in front of you. Then we have the main board, and each player starts with several pieces. They start with their available basic Scarab units, and they start with 7 of those on into the room 14, which is where essentially everybody spawns, so they do not fight in there. Then we have additional units in our disposal. We have 3 more basic Scarab units. We have flying Scarab units, which can be sent more easily with higher flexibility to different areas of the pyramid. And then we have the armored Scarabs, which besides the fact that they look really, really nice, they also, as the word indicates, are armored, and they offer better dice into the combat pool. We'll see how combat works in this game. There is a planning phase, and then there is also the execution of these plans, and each different unit, when different factions meet in the same room, they fight for control of this room and subsequently the rewards of each of those rooms. And each unit, you'll see the basic units contribute, each of them with a basic die, like the basic Scarab units. The flying Scarabs contribute with a flying die, and the armored Scarabs contribute with their own respective die. That means that you can have several of those in a group, and they will bring their own dice, which of course will give you better chances for fighting and winning over your opponents. Now, the next thing that we see in front of us are the 3 obelisk dice, which are linked with their specific rooms. So we have room number 5, room number 8, and room number 9. They have their specific obelisk, which is a die, and I failed to see that in the first time I opened the prototype. So this is one of the 4, you see, sides that you can roll with this die, and it's really cool actually. Then we also have the canopy jar tokens, which are these tokens. Each player is going to have 7 of those in front of them, flipped from the hard side. Your purpose is to get to lose them, so the player who loses all 7 of those, meaning removed from their player area, they're going to win the game once the round ends. And in the course of the game you will be flipping them to a larger side, which will give you the opportunity to spawn more basic Scarabs and so on. So that being said, I think I've covered all the components. We also have 1 mat token that we place on level 1 of the mat room 15, which is a sacred room where we cannot enter for combat. And this has our mat tokens, and as we progress on this mat track, let's say, we gain more mat points, which we can spend, and we will spend for various things in the game. So without further ado, let's see how we win the game. Every player starts with 7 canopic jars, as I've said, in front of them, okay, face up with a hard side. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to lose all of them in order to win the game. The game ends immediately when a player achieves this, and the first player to do so wins the game instantly. So let's see how we set up the game. First of all, we place the pyramid board in the center of the table. Then we place the obelisk dice of the gods. First we have Anubis, which is a red one, which goes in room number 5. Then we have Osiris and Horus with their respective rooms 5 and 8. Okay, and as I said, they have their own unique obelisk dice, very, very nice. Also, we take a general supply of combat dice for different units, as you can see here. In addition to that, we have the command arrow tokens. We're going to start with 1 or 2, depending on the number of players. They are 2-sided. From one side they show 1 unit, and from the other side they show number 3, indicate number 3. And we're going to acquire more in the course of the game to give orders basically to more units by planning on our personal planning board. And each player is going to take, of course, their screen of color that I showed you before, which are really nice and good quality screens, by the way, and also serve as a play rate from the back side. I really like that. And of course, each player, they're going to also take their player mat, okay, which it's a mirror of the main map for planning purposes. Each player is going to choose one of the colors and take, of course, all of their Scarab units of their color. They're going to be placing 7 of those in the staging room 14. This is a room which is adjacent both to room 11, to room 13, and to room 12. So it's all this big room at the bottom of the pyramid. Okay, just place them all stacked there for ease. And as I said, each player is going to take all of the scarabs. They're going to place 7 of them from their color, and then have 3 of them leftovers as their main pool. They're going to also take the 4 flying scarabs, which, as I said, they're really, really nice. And by the way, they come with a specific miniature insert in the box. Everything fits nicely. And the 4 armored scarabs. Okay, so 7 basic scarabs are immediately placed into the main board in room 14. The others make their reserve. Okay, so we don't have those. This is our reserve next to our player board or our planning board. The ones that we control are the ones that are in the pyramid, starting with 7 basic scarabs on into the 14th room. Then, in terms of the mat token, players, they're going to have the respective mat token at value number 1, indicating that they start the game with 1 mat favor. Okay, in room number 15, that's at the bottom right of the main room. Keep in mind that we cannot enter this room for battle. Okay, so we cannot go from here. The 7 canopic jar tokens are two-sided, as I said. Okay, they have the heart side, and this is how they start, all 7 of those for each player, and the larva side, okay, which are going to be flipped and back again in the course of the game. And that's it. From the general supply next to the main board, we place the command arrows. Each player is going to take, depending on the number of players participating in the game, a number of command arrow tokens. If we're playing with 2 players, they're going to start with 2. If we're playing with 3 or 4 players, they're going to start with 1. Again, this is double-sided, indicating 1 or 3, depending on how many you want to order from one room into an adjacent room. So there you have it. This is the setup. Round overview. Each round in Scarab Sands is divided into a refresh phase, a movement phase, and a resolution phase. So we have 3 phases. Again, refresh, movement, and resolution. The refresh phase prepares players for the round. In the movement phase, Scarab units can be moved to different rooms, starting from the basic units, then followed by the flying units, and then finally by the armored units. As you've seen, each type of different unit has their own movement phase. During the resolution phase, all rooms are activated in numerical order, and here you have to show you the numbers. So this is 1, okay, this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, number 14 is not activated, meaning you will not be entering this room. This is a neutral, or let's say peaceful room, and you cannot go into room number 15 for moving troops there. So during the resolution phase, as I said, each of those rooms is going to be activated, starting from number 1, and continue with the next room only after the previous one is completely resolved. That means in rooms from 1 to 13 in the pyramid, we'll have combat resolved, directly followed by activating the room rewards for the one left to control the room, and then moving to number 2, the same for number 3, etc. In the base of the pyramid, we have rooms 14 and 15. General actions are taken there by all players. The resolution phase is where hard tokens can be lost, units can be upgraded, and new units can be spawned, amongst other things in the course of the game. Players will keep their playing rounds until one player wins by discarding and losing all of their canopic jars. So let's focus a bit more on the different phases of the game. We'll start with a refresh phase, which is the first one. So refresh phase, it's the phase where all players refresh their own exhausted command arrows by placing them on the top right area of the player mat. That means, theoretically, here I'm going to have a screen in front of my ordering or planning board, okay? But I will have outside of my screen the various exhausted planning markers that I've used, okay? So in this phase, in the refresh phase, I'm going to be placing them here on the top right of the player mat, indicating that I have them available for the next phase. In addition, all players with flying scarabs on the board, meaning in the course of the game, I will have different units all around, and some of them are going to be flying scarabs. Okay, we'll have also basic scarabs. I'll also have armored scarabs. Okay, theoretically controlling different rooms. So during this step, all players with flying scarabs in the pyramid, okay, in different, let's say, locations. Let's say we were somehow like that, among other units or whatever. At this phase, all players with flying units are going to remove them and bring them here on the right side of the board. That means that they will move out of the pyramid, essentially. But they're going to be also sent in the next phase. You'll see. Then, once we remove the flying scarab miniatures from the pyramid rooms and place them in the top right of the board, we get one flying scarab marker token for each flying scarab placed in this area. That means, for example, the yellow player, they're going to take 2 flying scarab markers because they're going to use them for planning behind their screen. The red player is going to take 1, in this example, and the blue player is going to also take 1. Okay, so you're going to take 1 flying scarab marker, those triangular ones, for each of your flying scarabs that you move there, essentially. Okay, and you're going to also place them here, available for your planning later on. So once this is done, we're finished with the refresh phase, and we move to the movement phase. In the movement phase, players simultaneously will plan and execute the movement of the scarab units. This is done per unit type separately. First, we're going to do it for our basic scarabs, meaning for those little guys. Okay, we're going to plan the movement. Then we're going to do it for our following the basic scarab movements. We're going to do it for the flying scarabs. You'll see how this is done. And then we're going to do it for the armored scarabs. So each of those is going to be done separately. First, we start with the basic scarabs. And for the basic scarabs movement, first all players hide their player mats. I'm not just going to show you once here, but I'm not going to keep doing it. Okay, so what you do is you hide it behind the screen, somehow like that, okay, in order to start planning. So we're focusing on the basic scarab movements. All players are going to hide their mats with the player screen. Then they secretly place their command arrows on the small map of their mat, so as to show movement from a room in which they have basic scarabs to any adjacent room they wish to go to. The command arrows have 2 sides, and they refer to moving either a single unit, a single scarab, or 3 at a time. Okay? So scarabs are not able to enter room 15, here, sorry, this one, the mat room. And you don't have to use all of your arrows at this point. Okay? You can keep some for later when you're going to do movement for your armored scarabs. These guys. Okay? So you don't have to use them all, theoretically. Through the round, you will have to use them all, but you can select to save some or split some for the third step of movement, where the armored scarabs move after the flying scarabs. Okay, so once this is done, and if players decide to save, of course, if I only have 1 arrow, that means I can only move a basic unit, or 3 basic units, or armored units. I cannot split it between two movements from two different rooms. Okay, so after all players have done placing their arrows, so let's say for the sake of example, I also have maybe here there are two before the movement phase. Okay, maybe we have here some, maybe the red player has one there, or whatever, something like that. Okay, you get the idea. So during this phase, if let's say I want to plan a movement, okay, and I want to move those one scarab from here into let's say this, to support this armored scarab, whatever, for whatever reason, what I'm going to do, and let me show you up close, I'm going to say to put an arrow from room number 13 to room number 10. So I need to put it somehow like that, with the 1 indicating that one unit from there is going to move there. Okay, if I want to move 3, let's say I had several scarabs there in room 13. If I want to move 3, I'm going to flip it to the 3 side. Okay, if I only have 2, I'm going to put it from the 3 side, indicating that all 2 of them are going to move here from 13 to 10. Okay, and of course you can understand that if you have let's say more arrows to use in the course of the game, you can do all sorts of different planning depending, okay, on how many markers you have, first of all, arrows, command arrows, and how many you want to use for the basic Scarabs movement. We're still at the basic Scarabs movement. Okay, so in this case, let me put something that makes more sense, that something goes from here to here. Okay, and perhaps then from 9 I go to 2, something like that. Okay, to make it more, and from 7 to 5, something like that, to make it more relatable. Right, so after all players have done placing their arrows, screens are lifted up and basic Scarab movements are performed on the board. Movement is resolved for all rooms simultaneously. There is no cascading effect of movement. If, however, 2 arrows mark movement from a single room to multiple rooms, first activate the movement towards the room with the lowest room number, and if an arrow marks 3 Scarab movements, but you have fewer than 3, you just move all of them. Okay, so all the players are going to have different plans in this step based on what they want to do. Okay, and let's say this wants to go here, and let's say the red wants to go, I don't know, whatever, here from 6 to 13. Okay, so once the screens are lifted, players are going to have different movements for their basic Scarabs. All movements are resolved simultaneously. Okay, at the same time, there's no cascading effect, so you're going to execute all the movements to see what is the new status based on the movement of the basic Scarabs. And after all movement is resolved, we place all the command arrows used in this movement step from our boards, outside of our boards, outside of our screens, to show that we have exhausted them for this round. And they're going to be used again and refreshed, available to us, after the refresh phase. Keep in mind that at this stage, if I want to keep some of my arrow orders to use them, because I also have armored Scarabs that I want to use on the third step of the movement. First is the basic Scarabs movement, then is the flying Scarabs movement, and then is the armored Scarabs movement. I need to save them and not place them all now. Another quick point to mention is, you've seen for example, I've placed several order arrows at the moment. I'm not starting with that many, but I'm going to acquire more in the course of the game, and at some point after a couple of rounds I'm going to have more to assign. You'll see how this is done later on. Now, second step or portion of the movement phase is the flying Scarabs movement. Remember, at this stage we don't have flying Scarabs in the pyramid, we have them aside from the previous phase. Every player covers again their mat with their screen like we did before, and secretly places all of their flying scarab marker tokens in any room of their choice. Basically, they can fly wherever they want. That's why they're called flying scarabs. When all players are ready, the screens are lifted and flying scarabs are moved onto the main board, corresponding to the ones marked on the player mats. After all movement is resolved, we place all flying scarab markers tokens on the marked area, top right of the pyramid, meaning here. Basically, at this point, we will not have any order markers because we will have executed the basic scarab movement and we will have removed the arrows outside of our screen. We're only going to have plans, so ignore the orange arrow orders, for our, let's say these guys were also here. So this is, sorry, not these guys. These guys were also here. Okay, so let's say we're somehow like that. And we had the respective flying scarab tokens available. That means that during the planning behind this screen, again, we're going to place the screen in front of our mat and we're going to select, okay, and place the available tokens we have based on our plans, okay, exactly where we want them to go. And let's say they go here, whatever. From number 5, okay? We will remove the screen again, and at that point, we're going to fly the flying scarabs to our designated locations according to our plans from the markers we have on our screen. Okay? And this is how the flying scarabs portion of the movement is going to execute. And then we're going to remove those tokens, of course. The third portion of the movement is the armored scarabs phase. Of course, we resolve this step in a similar fashion as we did before for basic scarab movement, as long as we have, first of all, order tokens, okay, and armored scarabs in place in order to do movements, okay? And we execute the same way of movement, but we need to have, as I said, order arrows to spend. Again, we cover our screen, our mat with our screen, we do our planning, okay, only with the armored scarabs, and then we lift it and we execute in a similar fashion. Now, that's the movement phase. Let's move to the resolution phase. In the resolution phase, okay, all rooms in the pyramid activate in order from 1 to 15. Again, this is very important to do it numerically, always starting from number 1. This means that, for instance, that rooms 2 or room 2, okay, this one, is only going to activate after room 1 has finished activating, combat has been resolved, and we've seen who is the controller, the one who controls the room, and receiving the respective awards. So then we're going to move number 2. Once 2 is done, then we're going to move to number 3, and so on. Okay? So let's focus on secret rooms number 1 all the way to 13. Okay? Not counting 14 and 15. When one of the secret rooms activates, if a single player has scarab units in it, okay? Let's say it was somehow like that, there was only one flying scarab in number 1, that means that this player automatically controls the room. If multiple players have scarab units, either flying, armored, the mixture of those, doesn't matter, okay? Can be a combination of different units and a mixture of those, okay? I hope Anubis will forgive me for this. Okay, so let's say we're somehow like that. In room number 1, we're focusing on room number 1. That means a battle is going to commence there. We'll have combat in this room. Okay, and combat will dictate after one or maybe several rounds of combat until only one player remains or none. If none remains, none receives the rewards. If only one remains, the player who remains wins the rewards. a player controlling a room may get the room reward only if they control it and they are there at the end, if they choose to do so. Maybe they don't want to take the reward. Then the room is considered resolved, and we move to the next room. Okay, so we'll see how combat works in a sec. Okay, for now I want that you focus on the flow. If there is more than one, we have combat, we resolve the combat, and then rewards are given, and then we move to the next room in numerical order. Important, we're going to focus on, we're going to explain what the different rooms give us a reward, but the most important one of those, or one of the most important ones, is room number 1. And the reward there is whoever controls room number 1 immediately loses one of their canopic jar tokens. So they're 1/7 step closer to their goal, meaning losing all of them. So this is the specialty with room number 1, a very strong reward for the one who controls it after resolution of the combat. Typically there's going to be a lot of combat there, at least in my games. It was a frequent point of contest, and that was a great fun for that as well. The obelisk rooms 5, 8 and 9, with the obelisk die of Anubis, Osiris and Horus respectively. These rooms, if a player is controlling one of these rooms by being the last man standing there, or the only man standing there, what they do is they take the die from there. That means, for example, let's start with number 5. After we resolve the combat, let's say the armored succeeded in winning over the flying Scarab. That means they are controlling the room. They will win this die. They will take it in front of them and they will have it at their disposal to throw it away. If this die was there, if this die belonged to another player, even if not participating there, they will take it from the player previously owning the die, because at some point they controlled number 5 and have received it as a reward. Okay, this changes hands either from the first time from the room directly to the player who won the reward, or from the previous player who was previously owning the die. Obelisk dice have very powerful benefits during combat. You shouldn't neglect them. We'll say more about that later, but additionally, if a single player controls all of the 3 rooms with the dice, the obelisk die, so 5, 8 and 9, they automatically discard one of their canopic jars, which is another way to discard canopic jars. Okay? Now, room number 14, the crypts room, which is this one. So the crypts are spawning area for new Scarab units. There is no combat in this room, it's a peaceful room, and the rooms cannot be controlled by any player. When this room resolves, every player who has jar tokens flipped to their larva side, because in the course of the game some of your tokens are going to be flipped to the larva side. Okay? Obviously, that will be a result of losing combat and losing Scarab units. You'll see more of that later. But any player who has jar tokens on the larva side, they must flip them to the hard side, and for everyone they flip, they're going to spawn a basic Scarab from the reserve in room 14, as seen here, as a reminder. Sorry, not here, here. On room number 14. Okay, and if a player flips more more tokens than the number of basic Scarabs that currently are available in the reserve, basically they just get all of them available and additionally lose 1 jar token. So, room number 15 here, the mat favor room. Players track their current amount of mat favor on the respective track. They start the game with 1 mat favor, and they're going to be winning more in the course, or spending some of it in the course of the game. Keep in mind that we cannot have combat there, we cannot enter there, and even though no Scarab can enter the mat favor room, all players can perform the actions available there when the room is resolved. These actions are all connected to converting the favor of mat into certain perks, which you can see here next to number 15. Okay, For example, you can spend 2 math favor to obtain 1 command arrow. This is how you get additional command arrows, primarily. You can spend 2 math favor, and by spending meaning go down and spend them. Okay, so you can spend 2 math favor, spawning a basic scarab in a room, in the respective room. So they spawn 1 basic scarab as shown here, room 14. Okay, here from the reserve. And they can spend 4 math favor to have the same effect like this, to lose 1 of their canopic jars, which again is their goal, to lose all 7 of them. So really important to have math favor and to use it wisely. If players convert any math favor into perk, they should reduce their current math favor appropriately on the favor track by moving it downwards, 1 for each favor they spend. If multiple players lose their last heart by spending math favor, they win together. And if you want to break the tie, every player with no jar tokens places all their units currently on the board in room 15 and trigger a combat until a single player controls it. If that player wins, they win the game. If all scarabs die, both players win together. So these are the rewards of the rooms. Okay, I'm going to say a couple of more things just later, but let's focus now for a second on the combat, because we said in the movement phase, in the resolution phase, we resolve all rooms starting from room number 1, and wherever we have more than 1, we have combat. Combat is triggered when troops from 2 or more players share one of the rooms from number 1 to number 13. Okay? When this happens, when the respective room activates, and during the resolution phase, therefore only after all types of these units have completed their movement, combat is resolved in rounds consisting of 5 phases. Each round of combat has the specific 5 phases. First, creating the dice pool, then rolling the dice, then spending math favor, then resolving the dice, and then flipping jar tokens. If after a round of combat, units from different players are still present in the active room, a new round of combat is initiated immediately, and this continues for further more rounds until only 1 player or none controls the room. When this happens, the player controlling the room chooses to get the room reward, as listed next to the number of the room where the combat happened, and all players who were involved in combat but do not control the room, that means players who participate in the combat and they lost units, so they're out of the room and they do not control it, at the end of it increase their math favor by 1 by moving the tracker in the room 15, because it's like a catch-up mechanism for those who lost units. This is in a nutshell the essence of combat. Now let's see the different steps in a more focus. First, we create the dice pool. All players involved take 1 combat die for each scarab they have in that room. The different units are associated with different types of dice. So let's focus here. We have 1 basic scarab, and each player is going to take, the yellow player is going to take, let's say the yellow is here and the blue is here. The yellow is going to take for their 1 scarab 1 basic die, and the blue player is going to take for their basic scarab 1 basic unit die, the white one, the d6. Just for explanation, these white results have 1 major hit, 2 minor hits, and 3 blanks. Okay, this is blank, this is major hit, this is minor hit. We'll see, we'll explain what this does in a sec. Each flying unit contributes 1 gray d6. We have 2 flying units from the yellow player contributing 2 for this side, and 1 flying unit from the blue contributing 1 gray die. Then we get d8, and the gray ones have 2 major hits, 2 minor hits, and 2 blanks. They're better. Okay, and the armored units, they contribute 1 black d8. In this case, there is no armored unit for the blue, but there is an armored unit for the yellow. Okay, so the yellow is going to roll all this die, and the blue are going to roll this die. Additionally, players controlling unexhausted obelisk dice may choose to add 1 or more of them in the dice pool. Let's say the blue player is controlling this one, and they have it in their possession, okay, from previous. They may decide to use their obelisk die as well. Up to them. Now, let's quickly say the results of the obelisk die. Anubis has 1 major hit, 2 blanks, and 1 Anubis Result. Osiris has one lose a canopic jar token, so you can directly lose canopic jar from this, same like here. 2 blanks, sorry, 3 blanks, okay, and 1 lose a canopic jar. And Osiris has 1 Horus, result, 1 spawn, and 2 blank, okay? Right. So, essentially here we have contribution of the dice, okay, and possible allocation of the obelisk if we want. The second step is rolling the dice. Every player is rolling their pool respectively, okay? It's a simple battle between 2 players, but more than 2 players can participate in a battle in a room based on the plans. Then we move to the third step where we spend mat favor. All players that have rolled minor hits, this is a minor hit for example, okay, this player has no minor hits. Players who have rolled minor hits can now decide to spend a mat favor to convert these to major hits. For example, yellow player can decide to spend 1 mat favor to convert this to a major hit. And they can do it as much as they want, obviously. There's no limit to the amount of mat favor that can be spent this way, as long as a player can afford it and has the appropriate amount of minor hits available, okay? Keep in mind that when multiple players need to decide on doing this, they do this simultaneously. This can be done using command arrows from the general supply. Each player secretly takes 1 command arrow in the hand for each mat favor they want to spend. Then players reveal their hand simultaneously and spend the mat favor they have decided to spend upon, and continue resolving combat. Command arrows used in this way, they go back to the general supply, of course. The fourth step of combat is resolving the dice, okay? In this phase, all dice symbols are resolved aside from special icons featured in the obelisk dice, which we're going to explain, or explained it already, but we're going to say what they do again. Aside from the special icons featured in the obelisk dice, all other icons most probably will be hits, either major or minor, or blanks and shields. Hits are meant to kill opponents' units, while shields nullify hits. For example, this is a major hit and a shield, or just a shield, okay? So let's say we had a major hit and a shield on the armored die result. So if multiple players are involved in combat, each player will target with their hits the player to the left. If all the units from that player are wiped out, extra hits will target the next player to their left, and so on. Killed scarabs are removed from the board and returned to the player's reserve. Okay? Keep in mind that during this phase, for the major hits that they are not nullified from shields, the attacker decides which unit of their opponent are going to be targeted. Okay? So the fifth step of the combat is flipping jar tokens. In this case, for example, 2 blanks do nothing, and he has 1 major hit and another major hit and a shield, okay? And he has 1 blank, he loses 1 canopy jar, so directly losing 1 canopy jar, which is great for him, but he also has 1 hit, okay? So this happens simultaneously. So, for every one of your basic Scarab units that has died in combat, and this is here, as you can see, for every one of your basic ones, you get to flip one of your canopic jars into the larva side. So the blue, because let's say with these 2, this player killed both of them. Okay? And with this one, this player, let's say, killed the... with this one, this was nullified by the shield. So no yellow unit is lost in this example, but the blue lost 2 of those. For each of the basic scarabs used, the player gets to flip one of their remaining canopic jar hearts into the larva side, and this is shown here. For every flying scarab killed this way, the player who has their unit killed gets to flip 2 of the canopic jars into the larva side, as shown here. And for every armored, we didn't have any armor killed in this armored scarab in this example, you get to flip 2, plus you spawn a basic scarab from your reserve directly into room number 14. Okay? Right. If a player has already flipped all of their jar tokens to their larva site, and they don't have no more hearts to flip, they ignore the extra ones. Now let's see again the combat die symbols. These are major hits. Okay? Major hits kill any type of scarab unless blocked by shield. The attacker decides which scarab is targeted, and keep in mind that one major hit cannot be used to kill 2 basic scarabs. You'll see in a sec what I mean. Each minor hit is used to kill only basic scarabs, meaning these guys, the little ones. You cannot kill anything other than that. Okay? So kills only basic scarabs. 2 minor hits can be used to convert it into a major hit to kill a flying or armored. So if a player has 2 of those, 2 minor ones, they can see it as 1 major to kill either a flying unit or an armored unit from their opponent. Okay? Right. The shield icon. The shield, of course, neutralizes a major hit or 2 minor. So it can nullify either 1 major or 2 minor hits. It's shield icon. Okay? And we have the obelisk special symbols. Let's see them also. We already seen the one here. Okay? The Osiris canopic jar, you lose 1 canopic jar directly. In the what is it? In the red one, we have the Anubis. So when you roll this one, scarabs of all players present in the active room die. This is like a nuclear bomb for opponent scarabs. Okay? Shields do not protect against Anubis, so when this effect triggers, they die. The die is exhausted and placed back into room 5, so it returns here. But it's nice because it goes like a boom. And then we have the Horus result, which is this one. Also very interesting. Horus, all scarab units that were killed in this round of combat that belong to the obelisk die owner are revived in the active room. Heart tokens are still flipped to larva as if scarabs had died, and when this effect triggers, the die is exhausted and placed back into room 9. Okay, very, very nice as well. And there is also the scarab spawn. You spawn 1 basic scarab in room 14. This does not exhaust the die. That's this icon here. Okay, the only die which has more than 1 results besides blanks. In terms of rewards, we've seen, for example, this is you just lose 1 canopic jar. You can have this one, which you gain 1 command arrow. You can have this one, which you just gain 1 mat favor. Okay, moving up, if you want control of that. Or you can have, for example, this one, which converts 1 basic scarab to a flying unit, meaning you replace that with a flying unit as a result. Or move on a mat. This has either or. You also have similarly the same for armored unit, which is here. Okay, you convert 1 basic to an armored unit. And there is also spawning basic scarabs in room 14 from room as a reward. Okay, this, if you control this, you spawn, that player is going to spawn 1 here when this room is resolved. Okay, right. So in summary, ways of losing a canopy jar, which is the desired effect. Do it 7 times, you win the game. Control rule number 1. Own all 3 obelisk dice. Okay, own them all in your pool, and then you lose 1 canopic jar. Flip more jar tokens from larva heart than you have basic scarabs available in your reserve when resolving room 14. Or spend 4 mat favors when resolving room 15. If you have 4 to spend all the way up, you can spend them all if you want, and then you lose 1 canopic jar again. So there are 4 ways to lose canopic jar tokens. Ways of gaining mat favor. You can, when you are involved in combat but do not control the room, at the end of it you gain 1 mat favor. Potential reward of room number 7, which is this one, if you decide to take the second reward instead of converting a basic unit to a flying scarab, you decide to gain 1 mat. Okay, favor. So there you have it. These are all the details on, I've been very scholastic, on Scarab Sands. This is how you play the game. Exceptionally fun. Let's meet back up for my final first impressions from the game. So there you have it. For me, Scarab Sands, it's a fantastic testimony in game design on how sometimes you can have tremendous fun, real deep strategy and great gameplay satisfaction from simple designs. Don't get me wrong, this is a very involved game. It has tremendous amount of player interaction, it has tension, it has ups and downs, and you're involved in all sorts of different combats, takeovers, backstabs or whatever, with a very, very interesting and very robust combat system. But it's done in a very, very simple and polished way, delivering a fantastic gaming experience. So there you have it, I've said it all. I really enjoyed. First of all, I enjoyed the simultaneous programming of the movement. Typically, in most of the games, you just program your movement, or you do it behind screens, and then you reveal and you execute all your movements. Here, I really enjoyed that it's done in stepwise, in 3 steps. First for the basic units, then for the flying units, and then for the armor units. This is like a dynamic build-up on tension and expected reaction from the players on each of the subsequent steps. So you have real good control of what's happening there, and you can rate the battle and the combat to a degree, okay? Then you need to also combine it with clever choices for which rooms you're going to really put the foot on the pedal to try to give it all, to win it, because it gives you some perks that you really want. The goal is fantastic. You need to lose 7 canopic jars to win the game. And you can lose canopic jars from different ways, from controlling a single room, from rolling a die result in an obelisk die, from spending 4 mat favor tokens, mat favor points to convert it in 1 lost canopic jar. And all these different sources of achieving your goal for the game and winning the game really makes the game diversify, gives a lot of high replayability. It's fast, it's simple, it's very strategic, it's very enjoyable, and I can't emphasize how much fun I had with it. I really recommend it. If you're into clever games that they don't have you reading pages and pages and details and sub-details and asterisks, what happens if this is that and that's the scenario, whatever. This is a very straightforward, robust system that works and delivers. So check out the link in the description of the video. The game is starting on crowdfunding soon. You can follow the campaign and find out more about the game. But honestly, this is a game not to be missed. It's amazing. It's a great design and a lot of fun overall. So many thanks for watching.